Monday, October 24th, 2016. Flag salute with Ms. Dance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let it be known that we had an executive session with no action taken. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Amendola?
Here.
Ms. Glasser? Ms. Damas? Here. Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Ms. Perry? Here. Mr. Lavasser?
Here.
Ms. Amendola?
Here.
Mayor Bloom?
Here.
Solicitor Gladys?
Here.
Engineer Strunk?
Here.
And Public Works Director Kozrowski.
Here.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the bill list dated October 24th, 2016.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes dated October 10th, 2016.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. For citizens' comments, we don't have anybody signed up for agenda items only. Did anyone forget to sign this sheet? I'll entertain a motion then to acknowledge the receipt of written reports for the treasurer's report, the financial report, the Act 511 and trash collection report, the property tax collection report, the police report, the EMS report, the ordinance officer's report, the building inspection report, the public works report, the fire department report, and the library report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Moving on into the mayor's report.
Just a couple quick items. Unfortunately, the use of Narcan with the police department has gone way up again. We had
The price of it or administering it?
the administration.
Okay,
During the one day last week, we had 3 calls, and 3 overdoses, and 3 saves by the Narcan. This is a necessary drug in this interdiction that unfortunately is getting used in all the communities around here. It's not just prone to the city or Crafton, but we're talking, you know, the Mount Lebanon's, Upper St. Clair. This heroin epidemic is just not the unfortunate people using it. We're talking top-end people that are, you know, college educated and they get addicted to this heroin. But thanks to the, you know, the training, there's been quite a few saves by the police department and Northwest EMS over the past months. I would hope that this would go away, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime in the near future. Second item I want to discuss is the DARE program. For those who are not familiar with it, it's the drug, alcohol, drug interdiction for the kids in the school, rehabilitation, education. Unfortunately, the 2016 program has been canceled. Pennsylvania is actually not supporting it anymore to train officers to go to these, to go to school. In order for me to train somebody, I'd have to send them to Ohio for at least a week. I believe it'd be a week that they would be away. So until we get a better handle on how we're going to handle this, there won't be a DARE program in either Crafton Elementary or St. Philip Elementary for the 2016 season.
so we have an increased drug rate, but we're not gonna do DARE.
That's-
Has anybody been there since Paul was the last
Oh,
one?
no, Sergeant Harbison's been handling the DARE program with one of the other officers.
No, I mean, it doesn't make much sense, but the one point is like we were, some of us, I know Fred, you were at the ALOM discussion with, where they were talking about that the source of a huge percentage of this drug problem is coming from growing dependence on prescription opiate pain relievers. So I'm not saying, in no way, shape, or form am I saying, oh, we don't need something in the schools. I'm not saying that at all. I definitely support education in the schools, but I think we need to understand that a lot of what we're experiencing then come from, like you said, people who don't know any better. It's people who have gotten hooked from the prescription opiates that our medical system is giving us in increasing numbers.
But we can't say for sure, how many overdoses their program has prevented over the years.
I agree, I'm
I think
sure.
it's a great program.
I agree, absolutely.
But we need to get it into schools, but the schools, Arlington, needs to be able to work time into their school year to allow for this education. When the officers go into the school, the kids that are involved in this are taking out of classes. Okay, so with what the teachers have to do, versus the police coming in and interrupting their schedule, it makes it hard. So hopefully, I'll meet with the superintendent that maybe in the 2017-18 school year, that they can work the time and the hours that are needed for the students to receive this education.
Can't the officer just go into their health class and just take them
It's
into
just-
the health class
Well,
instead
that's
of
just
doing a
it.
separate class?
The school pretty much told us that they're tied up for this year.
If there's anything that I can do to,
Well, it's all.
Let me ask a question. Aren't there other companies or that do those kind of programs that we could bring in? And, they do fundraisers at businesses and I think there are some other options.
Well, it's not us. It's not our police department.
They're
It's
saying
the
we don't have
schools.
time.
It's the schools.
The school district itself is saying we
It's
don't
where
have
the
time to
problem is.
allow
Yeah,
a police officer to come in.
So creating a fundraiser is not going to
No.
give more time. No, I'm just saying, you're not going to get the time from the school, excuse me, to build the program in.
So there's two problems here. Their program is dead and schools don't want to cooperate. Is that what
Their
you're saying?
program's not necessarily dead.
No, it's the Pennsylvania end of it's kind of going downhill. So to train someone else, like, we'd have to send them to Ohio for a week, okay, to get training to become a DARE officer. Pennsylvania no longer offers that training to the police.
Sergeant Harbison has the training.
He does, oh yeah, I'm
He's
just
the
saying,
care
but he needs,
officer right now.
but we need another officer to get involved in this too. But trying to get this done with, and doing it for just one school, out of two is not a good thing to do. The elementary school, the Crafton Elementary School, their priorities weren't in that direction this year. So, like I said, I want to go speak to the superintendent.
Yeah, we got to get their
Principal.
priorities in that
Yeah,
direction.
and
because
to work this
This is
into
a
the
serious problem.
next year's program, to keep these kids, educated and to the alcohol, and the resistance education, which is there. And I think it's a vital part for these kids in any of our communities, to keep going. So I'm gonna work on it and I'll come back with you next year and, to see what we can come up with to get it going. But for right now, unless something changes up at the elementary school, it's not gonna happen this year.
Is there a way that you could work with the Carnegie, for instance, or Ingram and see if you could get a task force of mayors in there to talk to the school district and see what staff, we know what staff we have on our police force that have previous training, and maybe we could get together and get our continued education for our officers as the concerned communities. That way we can go to the school district and say, listen, we are willing to continue funding their continued education, etc., but we need you guys to provide the the class time for them to have this opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, and I can have Chief Sumter speak with Chief Carnegie to see where they're at and with that possibility. Ingram has no schools.
Very different
in
schools.
their
These are the
community.
different schools.
Yeah, they're the Montour schools.
Right.
Anyhow, so, but I'll talk to the chief tomorrow to see if there's any possibility that this might be able to come around, but for right now, it's off the books. That's all I have, thank you.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Are we able to add to this police report the number of times that we use Narcan?
I can have it put in there.
Could you? Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a similar question in how, obviously, when we're hearing about the use of the Narcan, there's, I'm looking at the police report, and maybe I need to be looking at the Northwest report and a little different, but it's like, how do we actually see those numbers? What sort of calls are we talking about when I'm looking at this report, that we would see this growing issue? Because I think it's hard to see in these reports anyway.
Not knowing the HIPAA law that well, but I would say that probably in my mind, the best we could do is provide you with the number of times that it was administered in the community during a month's time.
Well, that would be one thing, but then I'm looking at, certainly on the police report, there's a type of call. There's a code that just says that it was, because I can see here in the previous month, when there are 3 drug equipment violations. So under drug, in our previous month, we have 1 narcotic possession. There's actually 2, an 1831 and 1832, and then 3 1891s that say drug equipment violation.
There are arrests, is that the arrest report?
Yeah.
Okay, so then really,
Under-
all we're looking at are arrest reports and not call reports.
Right.
And so that's why it would be tough for us to really, if we're looking at this on a month in and month out basis, to see.
I'll get an ad in there for Narcan administrations during the month, just a blank number.
So, okay. So there's,
I mean, the very first line says that Crafton Police responded to 266 complaints, and then this is the breakdown of complaints. What are you looking to see additional?
well, yeah, basically what they're saying, what the mayor is saying is that breakdown that we're looking at are just for the number of arrests.
That's not just arrests, that's the number of calls. That's the number of complaints during the month of September.
Right.
Okay.
So you're gonna add a line and
Just
Well, yeah,
pretty
so,
simple.
what I'm saying then is, if these are the number of complaints, and we're looking at a report for for September, it's anything that's drug associated, it was a total of five calls. And when we're hearing the number of Narcan, so what I'm asking is, how do we see this here? Because we're saying there were 5 calls, and when you're talking about, we used it 11 times, I'm sure there's calls that you didn't use it on, and so I'm wondering how we see this in the call report.
If you would look at the EMS report,
Okay,
I would say that you would have the number of calls, EMS calls that Northwest responded to in Crafton for a month.
yeah,
How far do they break those down?
but do the police respond to any of the, don't they respond to any of the emergencies, and would not that generate a tick as far as a complaint or an action?
If there is a EMS call, the police will respond to the EMS call, providing they're not out on another more serious matter.
Right.
Okay, so the Northwest report will not, and I'm assuming it's because of HIPAA, report other than the information of the time that the priority to call the dispatch, the response time and the location. And some of these list of SIFs if you.
Yeah, no, there's details, so, and it says,
Right,
we've got some refusals, and
Right.
we have a couple, and then we have transports.
right.
So there's really no visibility there, and we don't have anything on the police report that tells us that we have how many times the police
Well,
are
that's-
responding
That's
to
why I offered
EMS.
that we'll put that in there. We'll add a line to, I'll have Mrs. Burkhoff add a line to the report as far as the
Number
Narcan
of
used by
times it's
the,
been administered.
by the administration, by the officers and EMS.
Okay.
And we'll get that to show up.
Okay. All right, but that's, but what I'm assuming that not all of these drug-related calls result in the use. And so if what we're trying to do is to get an understanding of how big the problem here is within our Crafton Borough, is there some way to see the number of calls that are generated that are drug-related? Because what I'm seeing in here, there's 5 in September that are listed, so from the numbers you've been talking about, I'm not sure that's the full complement.
Well, if you would, with the way I'm thinking right now, if you would see that there was, in the month of September, there was 5 calls or 5 responses to drug-related incidents.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't necessarily mean they're medicals, these are complaints. Now, what I'm gonna do is have the drug-related emergencies listed on here,
Okay,
okay? And we'll list the number of calls, drug-related calls, and the number of Narcans.
okay, so if we have those
That'll
two
definitely
numbers,
resolve the issue.
then that makes us much more aware of the size of the issue that we're dealing with.
Right.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
And the county's still working with us, I mean, there's still that joint task force with, isn't there like the DA or somebody has a task force where Allegheny County, you know, keeping the patrol and being
Right.
involved?
It's, you can't, if you go to somebody and they got a needle sticking out of their arm and they're unconscious from an overdose,
Yeah,
you cannot arrest them, okay?
yeah, no, I understand, I'm just saying, do you feel as if Crafton Borough is getting adequate support from the county?
Oh, the chief's on this all the time, yeah, we know what's going on, and, but I just wanted to provide that information tonight to let you know that there is an uptick.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
that's
recent,
concerning.
you know, and it may plateau off, or then again, it may drop off, and we may not see it again for a while. But that doesn't mean that there's not people in this community that aren't using, you know, opioids, you know, at a constant rate. Maybe they're the lucky ones that are not overdosing. And it's a shame, but I think that we, you know, that the whole country has to address this issue.
So what do we do as a community? I mean, to get that message to, I mean, we can talk about it in council, and, you know, the police are handling it on their end, but, you know, it's the, how do you get to that?
You're not allowed to run a red light. People do it all the time. You know, it's just where they're gonna go. And, you know, without, you know, if they don't want help or seek help, it's not gonna happen.
I mean, because, you know, when you watch TV, I mean, bombarded with drug commercials.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, bombarded.
Right
Do
now,
we bombard our residents with
Oh.
programs to get help, seek help? Do we, is there,
But it's, Dave, it's out there. It's out there. The Allegheny County, you know, the state, the county, you know, the hospital, there's programs, you know, everywhere. But as in a case of, like, we'll just do an alcoholic till they hit a bottom, and they realize they need help, there's nothing you're gonna say or do. It's gonna be. That's unfortunate, but it's so true.
Thank you. Moving on then to the engineer's report.
All right, quick update on the O&M plan task. We are currently setting up repairs, preventive maintenance, CCTV, all that stuff for the 2017 contracts, and working with Ann on the budget as well. For 2016, we have finalized the CCTV, the preventive maintenance contracts. The excavation lining are complete. Excavation's been paid for. Lining final pay application will be coming out later this week to be, I guess, paid in probably in November. CDBG project, the handicap ramps. Bid opening is in November. I believe it's November 8th. Most likely that project is not going to be constructed this year. By the time we get it through the COG and you guys approve it and they get notice to proceed, it's going to be December. Probably too cold to be putting down concrete. You can put down concrete in the winter, but it costs more because you have to heat it and all that. So most likely that's going to go in early spring. So we'll keep you posted on the schedule for that. Duncan Avenue pipe burst contract. I did get a tentative schedule from the contractor to start on November 6th. And I think he's going to be starting with taking down the tree, and then he will burst that entire line. And then the last item on here, and I believe you guys have already talked about it, it's regarding the Chartiers Avenue paving, working with the city to do that. And that's all I have.
Okay, I'm actually gonna jump to, under Public Works. I'm gonna come back to you, Rob, to give you an opportunity to give us an update on Public Works, but those three motions are the three motions referencing what he just spoke of. So, I'm gonna entertain a motion to authorize payment for preventative maintenance CCTV inspection, estimate number 2, and final in the amount of $3,649.55 payable to Shaycog.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Do you have any additional discussion for the engineer? Okay, hearing no discussion, then all in favor?
Aye.
And all opposed? I'll entertain a motion to authorize payment for O&M maintenance, estimate 1 and final plus administrative expenses, and the total is $20,407.63 payable to Shaycog.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Any additional discussion for the engineer? Hearing.
Can I ask a
Yes.
question? So, of this contract, preventive maintenance contract, year 6, is this our last year and one of our last payments under this contract?
It's a last payment for sure for this year,
Mhm.
but the maintenance of the sewers is ongoing. So
Okay.
you'll anywhere you have sags or roots, or you're coming around every year and you're keeping your system clean. So that's 1 and final. That's about what you'll spend in a year to keep your sewers clean.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yep.
Any additional questions, discussion? Hearing no additional, then all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And the last one, I'll entertain a motion to authorize to enter into an agreement with the city of Pittsburgh for the paving of Chartiers Avenue, approximately 3,128 square feet, for a cost not to exceed $51,000, and that's between Bell and Fountain.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any additional discussion for the engineer? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Okay then, moving on to the solicitor's report.
Thank you. Two items on the agenda, 2527 Sycamore Street. That matter is settled and done. What remains to be seen is how we are going to, and whether the council is going to spend the money to take the property down, the structure down.
So when you say settled and done, we
Yes.
now own that,
No, we can take the house down that's on the property.
okay?
As we had some discussions in your absence,
Okay,
ma'am, but we don't actually own the properties, but for all practical intents and purposes, the property is now our council's problem because property owners who don't have a structure tend to not to upkeep the properties.
and or pay their taxes,
Right.
okay?
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Any questions about Sycamore Street?
Could you just clarify for the public that this property is delinquent as it is, correct?
It is delinquent, it is dilapidated, and certainly is affecting the properties around it.
Okay, it's not for me.
Second item listed, let me just jump out one on the second item listed to a recurring theme, 78 Fountain. There was a pretrial conference held last Friday. The homeowner appeared without counsel. He demonstrated no rational interest in settling or letting go of the property, and it is on the trial list in Allegheny County for December the 2nd, and we are going to proceed to trial.
Wow, that's fantastic to hear.
Well, it's been a long time coming.
Very long time.
Does anybody have any questions about that? Thank you. Okay, and last, but second on the agenda is the proposed ordinances that were presented at the last meeting. Some from Carnegie, apparently already enacted there, and some from, looks like Pottsville, Pennsylvania. The executive summary of the ordinances that we have in front of us or in the cubby, they will involve much more record keeping than our current setup. Some of the ordinances, in my opinion, as drafted are vague and likely unconstitutional, or at least subject to a constitutional challenge, and that would result in increased litigation for the borough. Thirdly, there is, in my opinion, an overlap between the code enforcement and some of the police functions. Some of the portions of the Carnegie ordinance look like they would be better enforced by the police than by a code enforcement officer. Between now and when we get to, when I can get you a draft, let me back up. My plan is to draft these ordinances to streamline and simplify and hopefully avoid litigation in the future. And I think that council needs to think about its priorities going forward. I understand that we probably won't hit these till later in the year or maybe early next year. But there is a lot, at least at this stage, with the what we have in front of us to be considered. And basically, there are 4 areas: vacant properties, disorderly houses, housing, and property maintenance. And as I said, my plan is to try to draft so as to streamline and simplify what's here, because I think that this would be a lot for a code enforcement officer to have to try to keep tabs on. And we'll see if we can make it easier. Any questions?
Yeah, given that, would it be a more efficient process to maybe discuss what our priorities are, and as opposed to trying to revamp what those sample ones that were put up for discussion, to maybe start from more minimal, like from scratch, to say, okay, as you said, there's these 4 areas. What are the things that we as a borough, as the mayor is concerned about for the police, the ability to do X, Y, and Z? And then if we kind of developed an outline, that would it be more efficient and more straightforward to take an outline like that and then to create a set of ordinances around those specific plans.
Well, I think that if you have enough time and enough inclination to do it that way, certainly that would be a more accurate way and more generative way of doing things. But I think that it would be more efficient if I could come up with some outline for you to work from.
Okay.
And this one, the outline here, as I said, I have some concerns about the constitutionality, about some of the provisions, and the extent of the record keeping that's involved. And I'd like to take a crack at coming up with something a little more simplified. And, you know, I'll try to have that before the end of the year.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I
questions?
agree with you, not very often, but in this situation, I think that the mayor and the police department are trying to get their teeth into that disorderly house thing, which is only one part of that. So it's probably a good idea that we can divide those 4 areas, and the comprehensive plan people perhaps will address that blight thing, and maybe there will be some development from them, as opposed to us developing our own. I mean, we want that disorderly house thing in there.
So I was talking to Lana over at Patrick and Associates on Friday about the situation. She forwarded us some information from Pottsville. I think you mentioned that already. Basically, what it comes down to, the comp plan folks are pivoting right now to discuss these issues in our coming meeting. And there's been some internal discussion among the steering committee. And what Elaine was trying to highlight to us is we do need to do something as the sister communities with regards to our ordinances to provide police and ordinance enforcement the tools that they need. And it comes down to, we need some more tools in our toolbox. So 1, we need the language. 2, I'm gonna go back to software and GIS. So I think if we are able to draft something that's efficient, that mobilizes our people effectively, that sends a clear message to the community that we're investigating this, or we have a avenue of investigating these dilapidated properties, et cetera, or people that are out of compliance with what we see in the code. And that's where our solicitor mentioned last week, we do have existing code enforcement rules. So I was hoping, you know, if we're able to use some of our existing language and maybe some of this, I don't know how I feel about completely drafting something completely from scratch.
I'm in agreement with you as well, because, I mean, he mentioned constitutional rights as well, things that, you know, we don't understand from a legal perspective. So I'm in between both. Like, I don't necessarily want to start with a blank piece of paper, because he's going to have to review it anyway to add legal verbiage, but I don't necessarily want to prolong anything either.
Yeah.
So maybe if I hear you right, Fred, and I again agree, that the whole sum of what was put on the table the last time does encompass 4 very different areas. And I think that if we take what the mayor is talking about with regard to the uptick in the drug issues, that they're tied very closely to the disorderly house situation, and that the desire by you as our public safety person and the mayor, head of the police, wanting to get something done in that area, maybe we should uncouple these things and go at what's our highest priority first, which would be this issue, well, it's not so much dilapidated.
Or disorderly.
It's the disorderly houses is the term I think I heard used. And then if we look at that first, that piece, and then say, okay, then priority, how are they, how the rest of them come as we deal with them, as opposed to trying to deal with it in one huge package.
Yeah.
Well, my thing, whatever comes out of these discussions, I would like to see a clear pathway to tracking and trending. So the police can do what they need to do and code enforcement can do what they need to do. And then the planning commission could be involved and be able to have some of that data, the council could have that data, and we can start, having a strategic vision as we move forward quarter after quarter and using our police force and our code enforcement to ensure that we're shoring up the community where we need to and deploying those resources. So I think we're having a really good dialogue. I know this isn't a discussion meeting, but I feel like it's been very productive, so thank you.
Here, you go.
Yes.
Moving on then to the business agenda under finance. Did you want to speak to this, or it's just a reminder that our 2017 budget calendar, our next meeting is it? Oh, this is October. It's what day of the week? It's a Monday.
Monday.
So Monday, November 11th is our next meeting.
Yeah, 7th.
I'm sorry, November 7th is our next meeting, and then if need be, our next one will be the 9th, and after that, if need be, will be the 16th. Moving on to comprehensive planning. Philip, did you want to talk about this? David, did you want to talk about this?
Just that we have meetings coming up.
Okay.
There are, again, the plan is starting to come together, and it's just during, this is the refining process now. And the one meeting is on November 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. and that's in Crafton. That's going to be on the commercial development and connectivity.
Is that here, in this building?
Yes.
Yes. And then the next meeting after that is on the 17th of November. That's going to be in Ingram, and the topic's going to be blight.
And I was just gonna take a moment and say, I wanted to make mention, we had a planning commission meeting, and we had one of our newest members to the planning commission attend. Actually, I was late to the meeting, so they had a quorum. It was great. Ashley did a great job. And I also wanted to compliment Lydia, another member of our planning commission. She's a secretary, and I would like to say they're both doing an excellent job. I have to give Lydia a lot of credit with the comp plan. She's doing a wonderful, wonderful job communicating with the consultant. She's actually helping highlight some of the additional topics that necessarily weren't a focal point of the comp plan, but she's really driving some strong points home and working with Ann and with the consultant. So I just wanted to say Ashley and Lydia are doing a great job on behalf of the community, and I think we're fortunate to have
And
residents.
Ashley's here tonight.
Yes, and Ashley is here tonight. If you'd like to
Thank you.
stand up and, yep. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then moving on to public works.
Well, actually, most of my information's in the bridge report that's in the packet, but I'd just like to give the guys a shout out to the East Crafton Boulevard steps. They're completed and open, and I'm surprised how many people actually did use those. I think, Phil, you've asked for those to be reconstructed. They're up in operation. Actually, when you get out there, somebody took it upon themselves to install a small little set of stringers and steps that actually went down the hillside and were quite dangerous. So the timing was actually perfect because we started construction of the new steps and completed that. And now people have a safe egress from the trail down to East Crafton. And again, being up there on a regular basis, I was shocked to see how many people use East Crafton Avenue first and foremost, and how many people that actually walk down those steps and actually use the East Crafton Avenue steps. And the guys did a great job. They're completed, they're up and running. In the LEAF program, just an update on the new LEAF Actor. It's done, it's completed. We picked it up, brought it in. A few issues or problems that needed tweaked out. That's back at A&H. We're going to pick it up tomorrow. It's going to be completed at lunchtime with the little tweaks that we requested, and they took care of. So the LEAF Actor will be out on the streets probably Wednesday or Thursday, the latest. So, well, 2 LEAF Actors that time of year will be hustling in the leaves. So two crews will be out doing that for me, probably until mid-December. We get all that. The new leak factory out there, you guys are back in the window to see, it's a nice machine and it'll help us in the
I
program.
think you went up upstairs today.
That was the old one.
Oh,
The new one's, we had it out one, we had to get some things tweaked, we'd be up and running.
okay.
We probably Thursday.
Does anyone have any questions for Rob?
I don't have any questions for Rob, but might I ask a question when you mentioned the East Crafton steps? And I think it's the mayor, I noticed in the last number of weeks, we have a kind of a warning sign that gives us our speed as we come down Crafton Boulevard. So is that something that we put, like some of the other traffic tests up?
Those signs move.
Yeah, so one of the things that I noticed, and we'll make it as brief as I can, that you see the 30-mile-an-hour sign that is stationary and permanent, and with the movable sign where you start seeing what's your speed, you see the 30-mile and that starts blinking, so you become aware, and as you go into the curve, there is the 20-mile for the curve, and I'm just wondering about the spacing of those two permanent signs, because I can see, I mean, those of us who drive it, we hardly ever look, but putting that sign up made me really aware that you see that 30-mile, so you think you can go 30, and very shortly after that, you have the 20-mile-an-hour for the curve.
Yeah, I put that there actually. And the reason I did that, when we were doing the repairs on the Harrison, Crafton Boulevard, steps, I was shocked and amazed, because I had fear for my guys.
I can understand
I mean,
that.
the way those people were speeding there, so I actually put it there for 2 months in a row. And that's programmable, I could change that beacon to come on 15-mile-an-hour, 20-mile.
Right, no, I understand that, but what that brought to my attention was, I'm wondering if part of the problem, especially coming around there, is our stationary 30-mile-an-hour sign is too close to the 20.
No, actually, 20 miles put up by the state because of the net. That's why the 20 miles.
Right, no, I understand,
When I
I know
programmed
that
that,
needs to be there.
I wanted to bring the speed to people's attention once they hit 30, because automatically when that kicks on to 30, you slow down. A lot of people think that, but I don't know if I should say this, but they feel that the police have that monitor and they're gonna be taking tickets if they see the speed.
They are.
They are.
But that was put there for that rare purpose.
Scared to hell
You know, actually gonna try and flip it, put it around on the other side because it's the same thing. I was not flagging.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering if that 30-mile-an-hour needs to come further up, because
I
I don't know if that might help slow it down, because you see, that's all.
You're talking about the Crafton.
Yeah, Crafton
Down
Boulevard.
down below, like where I live.
Right.
Yeah.
That whole, they turned it, like, the motorcyclists actually use it as like drag racing place. It's actually quite irritating.
But that meant there's a crosswalk there,
Yeah.
right where that we put the sign, because that, I mean, when we were doing the Walnut Street steps, we parked up on the trail and it was, get across there, it was dangerous.
Yeah.
That bend, so.
Yeah.
The whole idea is to catch the attention of the operator of the vehicle, once that flash is clear, automatically slow down.
Right, it's true, but I'm wondering if the 30-mile-an-hour sign is contributing to the speed. That's all.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, the only.
It's a
spot that
state
would-
highway, maintained by the state, I think you should take it up.
The speed limit, 30, the bend is 20, but really the speed limit is 30.
Mhm.
So they're just letting you aware of the hazards.
The 20-mile-an-hour sign, I think it's a yellow sign.
Is that right?
The
Yeah.
30 is what, is a regular speed sign?
So it's a regular sign, and the 20
And then
mile.
right after
it's just
that-
It's just a not a warning, but it's just a suggestion.
Informational, yes.
A suggestion that you make it 20 around the bend. It's not enforceable. You know what I mean? It's just a suggestion.
Oh, okay.
Radar sports, they slow down once they see that. If you see that, probably half.
Okay. Thank you. Any additional questions for Rob? Moving on then to announcements. Anne, would you like to announce the announcements?
Down at the mini golf course, Grimm's Mini Golf through October 30th, weekdays 6 to 9, Saturday and Sunday 3 to 9 p.m.
So it's ready now?
It is ready now. And Halloween will be celebrated on Monday, October 31st. Trick or treating will be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Election day is Tuesday, November 8th. Vote early and vote often. And Veterans Day is Friday, November 11th, and borough offices will be closed. Police department, there's a box in the foyer by the police department. They're collecting toys for tots through November 30th. You can drop them off during regular business hours, and there's also a box in the library. So if you want to bring in a unused, unwrapped toy, we'd appreciate it. And Christmas and Crafton, the house tour is scheduled for Sunday, December 11th, 1 to 6. Advanced tickets are $15. They're available in the borough office and the library, and they're also going to be available online. We're trying to get a PayPal account set up for that. So, and watch for that in the coming weeks. And I did, one of the other things that I should have put on the agenda was leaf collection is now until December 1st. Just, rake your leaves to the curb, and the Public Works will be driving by on a routine basis on their salt removal schedule, and they will be collecting the leaves with the new equipment and the old piece of equipment. Go ahead.
Thank you. I don't believe there are any additional citizens' comments, right?
No.
Yes. Yes, there is.
Okay? Yes, I did.
Charlotte, 5800 Clearview Avenue. I just want to know when you discussed about service line protection.
About what?
Service line protection. The insurance that had our new letterhead on it.
You talked to them.
Yeah, and the next set of letters will go out in the spring. That'll be for water lines, and we'll address that whenever that letter is correct. Whenever that letter comes out in the spring.
Is it on the internet? That's my question. Why is it still on the internet? Why does it say Crafton is partnering with this company? It sounds
Because we
like
sell
something.
out.
How is that a partnership? What are you getting out of it? Or,
The borough gets revenue.
Yeah, we do get a revenue from it.
It was discussed there was a presentation at a public meeting,
Okay.
and council voted on it.
How can you vote on it without hearing other companies?
We weren't bidding it. It was a presentation, it was an opportunity for the borough to make money.
It doesn't sound right. It sounds like somebody's
They came.
making money.
They
and
came
should be-
here and they did a presentation to council, letting us know that this program was available, that they could offer to our residents for additional protection. It isn't something that they have to take or that they
No, but when you
need to
put it
take.
on the website saying you're in a partnership with them, it sounds a little different. And it's like you're recommending it to the residents over something else.
I just want our residents to be protected if something would happen. So, we did all hear the same presentation. Everyone voted that we did want to provide this available to our residents, and so that's what we
But
did.
you don't need to provide it.
I do understand what you're saying, but residents didn't realize that it was even available for them to purchase. So we were just merely letting them be aware that this program is out there, that they can have additional protection for their lines.
Well, you could have easily put on your website, there are these companies available. You
This
can
was
get that. I just don't, it just doesn't sound right for a borough to be involved in
Well,
this.
this was a program that was offered through Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs. So they have the entire state of Pennsylvania, and they're offering this program throughout various municipalities. They made the presentation, they came to us and they made the presentation. So we're in support of, maybe partnering is not a
I
good
was
word.
gonna say, maybe
Maybe
just
it should be support of offering the program. It's not something that is mandatory to the residents, but it's offering a service that we would like to bring to their attention. And it is a lot less expensive than if you went out and did through the water company, through the gas company, through through every different company. It is a lot less expensive. But you have the option not to do it. But it was It was a program that was offered through Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs. And they have their recommendation and, you know, so it came and made the presentation to council. I mean, I can ask them to change it to, you know, support instead of partnering.
It's all good that the Pennsylvania Association recommended them and that everyone else is doing this, and it's all good that they offer a program to our residents for less money. It's all good, but I kind of don't like it myself, actually. I mean, in my opinion, they're gonna send 2 more sets of those letters out. You know, I don't like it. We're getting some complaints from some residents and myself. You know, I looked at that letter the wrong way too. They did come in, they made a presentation, we all agreed, hey, okay, let's do this, but, you know, is there an option to pull out of this?
And I do have to say that I wasn't under the assumption or aware that they were going to be sending multiple letters to our residents.
Right.
I was under the
Well,
impression.
the fall is sewer line, and the spring is gonna be water line. Now, you have the choice.
But because you talked to her is why you know that detail, like her
No,
initial
no,
presentation.
it was in the presentation,
Okay.
but
Yeah, it was.
twice
There's
tonight, I
a
want to
mistake.
agree with Fred. I mean, we talked
Wait a
about
minute, can I
this.
put that in the minutes?
Yes, you can put that in the minutes. I mean,
So I'm not in agreement with
In our previous, in our previous discussion, when it first came out, there was pushback. I heard from some residents, we had some residents come forward. I was not at the meeting where you presented the letter, and I didn't find it in Covey. So I felt I didn't, I missed it. So, but I wasn't at the meeting. But you clearly, everybody got a chance to look at the letter. I think it's a situation that the way they're marketing it makes it, as you say, look like we're endorsing it.
Right.
I went back and reviewed the entire meeting, the entire presentation, and to put it on the record that the borough makes 50 cents per subscriber. That's where the money is, and that's how much it is. But I definitely agree that we should not be letting any commercial organization put out a letter that looks like it's on our letterhead, coming from us and signed by the president of our council. I have no problem saying that, you know, that the borough endorses the program, but it needs to come out on their letterhead. Because I can't tell you how many times I've heard people exactly what you're saying, that it looks like we're recommending it, like it's almost like you must do it or you could be in trouble.
Right, right, and just in speaking of signing the letter, initially the letter was sincerely, and I wasn't comfortable saying sincerely from me. So I had it changed to on behalf of council, and I was signing on behalf of council. But I am in agreement with you as well, like, after the fact, I'm in agreement as well. We are endorsing it for our residents, but they absolutely are not.
Yeah,
Bottom line here, Mr. Jim, what can we do here? Can we pull out of this thing?
Contracts you could always pull out of.
I mean, can we find out if any of our residents have taken advantage of this?
Well,
Now, let's just ask Mr.
Well, I'm
Gladys
saying, I
if
don't
he
want to
can-
all of a sudden cancel it if people are using
Well,
it.
hold on, that's, clearly, there's some confusion. Number one, they were allowed to come into the community and sell the insurance, period, okay? They really didn't need our consent. What I think would be fair for Columbia Gas, PA American, and for the Service Line American, we wouldn't say, these are currently the providers that are working in your community to provide insurance. You could have that disclosure or that section on our website so they would clearly know. And it's just, I view this sort of like the cable franchise fees that we get from the cable providers, whether it's Comcast or if it's Verizon, et cetera. It's not as if the borough is in the pocket of Comcast or of Fios. They have a franchise fee that they have to pay to the borough for, doing business in the borough. So in my mind, when I saw that they were paying 50 cents per customer or whatever, however they calculated it, it was sort of like that was their franchise fee for doing business in the community, which there are other similar taxes in the borough to do business here. I don't know at this time if Columbia Gas or American Water are providing any similar type of tax or fee, or if we have anything in place. However, I think to set the record straight, I think it would be very nice if, number one, future mailings should not come on our letterhead, because that was very bothersome to me and some of the folks.
And her, and not to cut you off or interrupt you, but her pushback was, they do that so that it's not immediately tossed away.
Right, but the thing is, it's like,
Right,
well, great.
right, no,
Yeah.
So bottom line, Mr. Gladys, can you work on seeing what you can do? I mean, we have consensus here that we maybe would like to get out of this thing?
I wouldn't say necessarily, pull the plug on it. If it's a good program that benefits the residents, which is what the whole.
Which is why we said we
Right,
agree.
I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
think it
not
brings
like-
competition. I'd like to see more competition in the insurance market.
It's wording, it's just wording.
We
It's
were
words.
doing
And
it
it's
to
like
make a,
coming on our
bring in.
letterhead.
Right.
It's like, I think we must be in a position to not allow.
The contract specifically says that we are supposed to review the letter before it goes out. Okay?
So that's what,
So we
that's,
just have to
Which
look
we
at it.
did, but it didn't show, that draft letter did not show them putting it with our header block. I mean, it looked like Crafton letterhead, and then they use a fancier envelope than we even use. That really got their attention, so they give them props to their marketing team. However, it really looked, it was deceptive.
well, like I said, we can, if it's a program that benefits the residents and it gives them a less expensive alternative to protect, the sewer lines and so forth. I mean, definitely, I think it should be offered to the residents in our community. But we definitely need to address the issue of how it's presented from that company. And, that's, we can do that. We can tell them, we don't want this written this way. I think it may not be a bad idea to check maybe a little bit more into, I was surprised that they were not as concerned as we were when we brought, our concerns and, hey, we're getting some feedback from residents that that's concerning to us, and it wasn't like, oh, well, we've gotten that in the past and we can address that or whatever. So basically, we're gonna have to address it, and we're gonna have to confront them and let them know that there's some issues with the way they present the information to the residents. And either they're gonna work with us, and if they're not gonna work with us, then we take the next step.
So how long is this quote contract for?
3 years. Automatically renews. And unless we terminate it 90 days prior to the end of the term.
But we do have time to talk about the potential letter that we send in the spring.
The letter is supposed to come to us for prior review and approval before it goes out.
So we can make adjustments there, not
Yes.
necessarily canceling it, but
Right.
making an adjustment to the letter
Right.
and then making an adjustment to what their website says as far as support.
Well, what our website says.
Right, that's what I meant. What our-
And so basically, there's nothing here preventing us from putting an informational section on the website that doesn't have this whole endorses thing, but maybe has
A
an
list.
informational list about, giving the straight facts about what is residential responsibility, and here are the options that we know are available from the utility, from this program. Because I don't think there's anything in this contract that dictates that that's the only company we can put information about on our website.
No, it's not an exclusive license.
There you go.
So my question though is why would a borough just pick out one company? You hear that. There are other companies available. They might, if you said, I'm going to endorse you, they might give you a discount too.
There
The
are
reason
very,
is
very
because
few companies who
it was
do that.
endorsed by the Pennsylvania Association, and so it sounded very good for our residents.
Right, and that there really isn't, it isn't the sort of thing that we sat here and said, oh, we should offer this stuff, so let's go out and look for providers.
Right.
And so that's a little bit of what happened. And then knowing that the utilities themselves constantly send that information out.
Why couldn't they send it out?
Well,
Okay.
yes, exactly, the
Well,
utilities send
American
it
Water
out.
does.
American
They
Water
send it
does,
under
so
their
does
own
the gas
company.
No,
company.
I know, but why couldn't the service line?
Exactly, and that's where I totally agree.
And that's why,
I totally
and that's
agree.
what she said, if they send it themselves, you tend to throw it away. But if they see that
And that's-
the borough is endorsing it or supporting it, or whatever word you wanna use, then you're more likely to pay attention and read it. So their marketing worked.
So Mr. Gladys,
So basically, I think what we've got here is your concern has really resonated with us, and you've spoken for a number of other people that we have heard from, and we are going to move forward to see what we can do to ameliorate it in the future and make it more clear.
And even though you say that this is a better, cheaper plan,
I'm not saying that, I
Well,
don't know.
you
It's apples
You
and
don't
oranges.
know. That's
So,
right.
somebody else has, but it's an apples and orange, and it's up for you to decide.
Yeah, one of the
Right.
things that says like, talking about up to, I think the language is like $3,900 whatever dollars. I'll tell you, the lateral line for 401 Clearview from the city tap to inside my house was $12,500. That's just to do, that was pipe bursting, all right? I can tell you, it can exceed the coverage that, easily exceed in the community, the coverage provided. And there's arguments about all insurances. Some plumbers make the argument that insurance plans are inherently evil because it doesn't provide for a level playing field, and that it actually elevates the cost of services because service providers automatically know, well, if the insurance company's gonna cover $4,000 of it, I got, $4,000 as my base, and then I build everything on top of it. Some plumbers make that argument, but if you're an ethical plumber, hopefully you go, all right, this is what services cost, and this is how much, this person has to work with, and hopefully they can get as much of it done within that budget a lot, that if it's Service Line of America, if it's PA American Water, or Columbia, but there's obviously a lot of argument to be made for insurances overall, and this is not just pertaining to infrastructure insurances, it applies to the entire insurance market.
Thank you.
How about if they would go out of business, we sponsor them or supporting them? Or people are gonna think we're liable, or,
We would not be liable. Crafton would not be liable. To answer Mr. Amendola's question, as far as terminating this contract, there is no termination provision per se, so it's hard to say what type of litigation you'd be looking at if you canceled out early. My recommendation is that we keep a tighter rein on their marketing and how it presents the Borough of Crafton. And, if our reins are too tight, maybe they'll terminate with the borough.
okay, that sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Any additional citizens' comments? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
So moved.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.